There are many historical, biblical and literary works that were designed by or around the Scorpion King and show evidence that he existed in the real world. In the chapters of Isaiah, after his vision, when they spoke about the king of Babylon and say, "O how the mighty have fallen, O son of the morning star. For you have exalted yourself above the throne of the mountain of olives, and your place is no longer found in heaven." This passage was speaking of the forgotten king whose exile erased all of his actions that usually are praised in tablets and tombs, preserving their kingdom forever. In those days it was believed that to diminish a king's power you must erase his legacy written in stone. Erase him completely and his place would no longer be found in heaven. But it went further than that for the Scorpion King. They made it illegal, punished by execution, to even utter his true name and could only refer to him as the Scorpion King. They altered his birth tablets, shaming him in every way possible so that all roads led to lies and truths that would be like weapons against him. That is one reference, there are more. In the tale told by Scheherazade in the Tale of 8001 Arabian Nights, the infamous character in Aladdin's tale, the evil sorcerer who was trapped in the lamp as the genie, was based off the legend of the Scorpion King and may have been the real reason she was almost executed. These are but a few examples still present in today's modern times that were built off of the exiled king of Assyria, the first emperor of the world. Shem HaMephorash. Dorilula. Sargon of Akkad, whose real name was ... I can't remember the first name, but his last was Ben Shakar, of the tribe of Dan and born in Nineveh before being taken by Scythian raiders and raised as a barbarian with the men of the north. So the hidden legends say. Now do not quote me on this, but I have heard from various legends of the ancient origins of the Illuminati that say that at one point in his reign, at the beginning of Ashur's fall and the rise of Assyria in its ashes, Sargon had made a wager against the gods, for he was seeking to have a place among them. The gods set the rules and he had to prove himself of what he had boasted before his people. That he was a self-made god on earth, and to prove that he had to achieve an act worthy of that of a god's deeds but without illusions or treachery. If he could, then he would have a place among the gods. So began the writing and legend of the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. But he failed, and the Emerald Tablets that he claimed to be unbreakable and indestructible, that could offer a simple mortal, godlike power and wisdom and life beyond death, were destroyed. Bringing shame to his kingdom, and the people, fearing the wrath of the gods, drove him into exile, chasing him into the deserts just beyond the city of Uruk, in the Kandahar desert, where he was last seen riding head-on into a habib, or sandstorm, by his personal guards that were chasing after him. They say he was swallowed by the sands, and a city of stone rose from the dunes and swallowed the Scorpion King and then disappeared in time. When the sands settled, there was no sign or footprints or the city that Ekim was ever found, nor was he ever seen again. This city became known as the Lost City of Im, or the Lost City of the Scorpion King. Now for those who believe in the supernatural, this story continues and does not end here. Many lies and false tales along with tragic events were associated to having been caused possibly by the Scorpion King. Usually whenever the temple priests would hear any attempts of uncovering the Scorpion King's history or the truth of his reign, then their automated response was to fabricate some supernatural explanation that was an act of God or something equally powerful and especially unquestionable, in order to hold to the traditions of the pharaohs and rulers who came before them, for that was their tradition and they hold to that tradition even to this day, but for good reason. In spiritual legends it is said that the ghost of the Scorpion King, who lacked the proper burial process, wandered as an unbound spirit in the deserts. With no epitaph to who he truly was, he became an unbound spirit until one day he found the means to remember who he was. Infuriated by the deceit of the gods and his trusted guards, his spirit raced to the home from where they came to bring vengeance upon their people. At this time the Prophet Muhammad had just been visited by God, who had come to reveal himself through Muhammad as Allah, which was kinda his thing back then. Seeing his opportunity, whose success rested on the messenger who it seemed would announce his coming, Gabriel, the spectre of Sargon, knew if he could fool the angel into believing he was Allah and announcing him to Muhammad, then his plan for revenge would succeed. Now I have not heard how he did this exactly, but somehow he did fool the angel into believing he was Allah, and he announced him to Muhammad. Then he possessed the prophet, forcing him to dance upon the rooftops like a madman to discredit the people's belief in him. When he saw this was not working and the people had such patience and understanding with him, for they knew with whom he spoke with, and dismissed it as some test or trial he had to go through, and so did not judge him for it. Sargon had another idea, but he had sealed his fate, for Gabriel was watching all this unfold and realizing what happened went to find the real God. Meanwhile Sargon began to unfold his revenge and began preaching false commands that he was to proclaim to the people as his will for them to live by. Now I only know small bits that I have heard here and there, so I do not know which specific ones were told to him, only that they were ways that would inflict suffering upon those they cared for, and traditions that would weaken their physical health and mental stability under the guise of a type of penance for sins they had done that angered Allah. I will not try to pretend that I know in detail what is and what isn't, when I myself know not, for I am a humble prophet that does not fear his anger but more of a concern for bringing shame to his name, which is why I do not go into these details. I do however sense that intangible voice, too distant to place exactly where it comes from, but still able to sense the serenity that tells me it is angelic in nature. It says to me to say, worry not about this particular issue, for one shall come after me who is mighty in his glory, whose light I cannot look upon. He shall come very soon to set this issue straight for you. And that is all I have to say on that topic. Now Sargon had put the poor prophet through much suffering until one day an unholy-looking child came into town and proclaimed himself to be the Archangel Malik. And he had been sent by the Lord to show him the place of torment and suffering for those who live wicked lives. Malik took the Prophet Muhammad into a portal that led straight into hell, for God knew exactly what was going on. Perdition or hell cannot hold those who do not belong there, so Malik took the Prophet on a short tour, but when it was time for him to return, the dark spirit of Sargon that was within the Prophet could not leave and stayed trapped there when Muhammad returned to the mortal realm. The one who was the little child was actually the spirit of an ancient enemy known long ago simply as the enemy of all the kingdoms of the earth, whose kingdom lay beyond the valley of shadows in the realm of the dead, in the kingdom of those who came before us. He appeared as a child because he himself was killed by his own son, whom many know of as Marduk, who defeated that old dragon and cast him into the bottomless pit for 1,000 years. God had gone and commissioned the assistance of someone much more evil than Sargon to entrap him and help his poor servant. Malik was given the child's form to signify who he was and to keep him from unleashing any plans he might think of himself while here. And so thus was the one they call Iblis' first appearance, but they shall not admit to the truth to any of this, nor the existence of Satan or of the Scorpion King's true identity, for it is their tradition that made the Scorpion King that is the reason why, their belief that weakens his power by denying him recognition on the earth. Now remember, this was discerned from spiritual sources as well as heavenly and unholy forces all collaborating together to bring this wisdom and tale to you. So if I am incorrect in any of this, I would be open to opinion, but considering their traditions I doubt any would even comment, let alone acknowledge any of this, which considering the circumstances is understandable, but we live in a time when people can no longer tell who are the enemies and who are not, which is why I endeavored to bring this full tale into the light.
I'm through with standing in line, the clubs I'll never get in. It's like the bottom of the ninth and I'm never gonna win this. Life hasn't turned out quite the way I want it to be.
Tell me what you want.
I want a brand new house on an episode of Cribs, and a bathroom I can play baseball in, and a king-size tub big enough for 10 plus me.
So what you need?
I I'll need a credit card that's got no limit, and a big black jet with a bedroom in it. Gonna join the Mile High Club at 37,000 feet.
Been there, done that.
I want a new tour bus full of old guitars, Mine Star on Hollywood Boulevard. Somewhere between Cher and James Dean is fine for me.
So how you gonna do it?
I'm gonna trade this life for fortune and fame. I'd even cut my hair and change my name. Cause we all just wanna be big rock stars and live in hilltop bosses, driving 15 cars. The girls come easy and the drugs come cheap. Well, I'll stay skinny cause we just won't eat, and we'll hang out in the coolest bars and the VIP with the movie stars. Every good gold digger's gonna wind up there. Every playboy bunny with a bleed